It's the Flow Friday Night Sports Show, and it's time to talk Hume Netball. Round 12 of matches played last week. Some close ones amongst them, some bashings as well. Joining me on the line from Hume Netball, of course, Carla Fletcher is back. How are you, Carla?
I'm great, Jason. Thanks. How are you?
Very well, thank you. All right, let's have a look at last week's matches. Your crew, Lockhart, going beautifully at the moment. Too good for CDHBU. A very solid win for your Lockhart girls.
Yeah, it was a pretty good game. CDHBU showed all the hard work that they're putting in, and it's starting to pay off for them. And they had a massive first quarter with Lockhart only taking the lead in the last couple of minutes. And then Lockhart continued to build their lead over the game, eventually winning, by a number of goals. But Rachel Hanrahan played consistently through the game for CDHBU, and Emily Boyle showed how her 150 games with the power have made her an invaluable asset to the team with her skillful ring play and strong rebounds. And Lockhart's awards went to Tegan Hannon and Izzy Hogg.
Moving on to other scores now. Solid win for the Billabong Crows, much needed for them. 21 goals, too good for Holbrook. They won 62-41.
Yeah, this week saw a fresh-looking Crows side take on a pretty determined Holbrook, who are really working hard to try and keep their finals chances alive. But for the Crows, Bethany Maloney did a great job in wing attack, proving that she's got just as much drive and influence in the mid-court as the ring. And Harriet Simpson and Brooke Davies stood tall in defence, all game providing some great turnovers that Ricky Robb and Brittany Deegan were able to convert nicely into goals to secure their win. So it was a pretty good game for the Crows, and they really needed some percentage-boosting scores.
They absolutely do, given that there are three teams tied on 10 wins at the moment, and it's just percentage separating them all. So we'll come back to the Crows a bit later on, but first of all, let's go to How Long. They had an important win for them, and the Randwill Waller crew, this is a game they really needed to win, couldn't get it done, 58-46 in the end.
Down in How Long, they celebrated NAIDOC Week with a smoking ceremony. And the team wore some special Indigenous bibs that were designed by a local player for netball and her family. It was a pretty tough game with the Randwill starting strong. And there was only 4 points in it after the first quarter. However, How Long were determined to put together a really strong four-quarter performance to eventually come away with the win. Randwill Vivian Mellows put in 110% the whole game and managed some great intercepts with Amanda McCall staying positive and kept urging her team on. And best players for How Long were Brooke Cannon and April Lampy.
All right, so Jindera, they were way too good for Colcan, an important 50-goal margin too for their percentage, 76-26.
Yeah, for Colcan, it was another tough match for them. They were up against another top team, but they were pretty pleased that they closed the gap from their first round encounter. And Jindera certainly didn't make it easy, even though they were missing experienced shooter Charla Sutcliffe. And the girls are really trying hard, so that's all we can ask.
Exactly right. Putting a team on the park every week and having a crack. The Murray Magpies are doing that as well, as are Henty, who have only had the one win, but the Magpies got the job done here, 52-16. They're knocking on the door now of that top six.
Yeah, and after the bye, Darwin, for most of the bodies, Henty had some players back from injury in Mel Wetton, but unfortunately they just lost another shooter in Jess Sprout for that game, and they had a couple of players fill in, Erin Hogan and Millie Burke, and they really did well against the Murray Magpies, but Magpies were just a bit too strong on the day, with Hannah Azai taking out best on court.
Okay, let's move on to the last match of the round. The top of the ladder, Osborne continue undefeated. They beat Brock Burham comfortably, 57-22. Their miserly defence is it's very difficult to score against them. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, it is. But Coach of Osborne said, the BB Saints girls came out really strong in the first quarter, and they kind of put some great pressure on Osborne, and they were only down by a goal at the end of the first quarter. But Osborne came out firing after quarter time, and they're just too quick and came away with over a 30-goal win. BB Saints' Mim Dunstan had a killer of a game, playing in goal defence and taking out best on court. And for Osborne, we had Rachel Galvin and Abby O'Connell playing really well and winning the awards for Osborne.
Carla Fletcher joining us for Hume Netball today. And, of course, Carla, due to the COVID situation, I think the Football League there in Hume and the Netball Association have both taken the decision not to play matches this weekend. Clearly, it's all still fairly raw. It was made over the last 24 hours, this decision, as I understand it, and I've got no doubt you'll have what the ramifications are of that, whether or not these games get replayed or whether or not they split the points or what. We'll talk about all of that on next week's program. Until we catch up next week, enjoy the weekend as best you can, and with no netball, of course, and we will catch up next week here on the Flow Friday Night Sports Show.
Thanks, Jason. See you next week.